this isn't a video I ever thought I'd make, but I think it's one that needs to be said out loud. I took the real estate licensing exam and I didn't pass. And if you've ever failed an exam, missed a goal, or felt like you let yourself down, you probably understand exactly why I wanted to talk about this. Hi, I'm Tanya Nixon with Robert Nixon Personal Real Estate Corporation. I work behind the scenes in admin role, and recently I made the decision to take my real estate licensing exam, and this is my experience so far. Going into the exam, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. There's a lot of material, a lot of detail, and a lot of pressure. I studied, I prepared, I crammed like 2 nights before. I felt reasonably confident, not overly confident, but confident enough to believe I had a solid chance. And then I wrote the exam and I didn't pass. The part people don't expect. What surprised me, and this is important, is that there were actually parts of the exam that felt super straightforward, like no-brainer almost. The ethics section was, like I said, almost a no-brainer because of the work I do behind the scenes. I was very familiar with contracts, agency, and mortgage law. Those were areas I felt genuinely comfortable with going in, and they showed up as strengths. Where I actually did really well, which I really wasn't surprised, is I did really well in areas like accounting, property tax, and design factors. Actually, I was a little bit surprised, but they were fairly simple sections. The property tax portion in particular made sense to me. Things like how property taxes are structured, how assessments tie into distribution, and how municipalities actually use that information. Not that I found that was super in depth like that on the test, but it did talk about it a little bit. Because I deal with those concepts behind the scenes, it felt familiar rather than intimidating. And honestly, if you own a home, you're familiar with property tax. And honestly, that mattered to me because it confirmed that the time that I spent working in real estate admin does translate into real world understanding in certain areas. Failing the exam didn't mean I didn't know the material. It meant my strengths and weaknesses were clearly defined, and now I know exactly where to focus. Because there's an assessment report that they give you actually at the end of, like, after you get your results, there's an assessment report. And that's the one thing I really appreciated actually is getting that assessment report, because it broke down things that you did really, really well at and where you struggled and probably should focus on for retaking the test. So for my restudying, I'm actually using this report to focus on what I need to work on. Now, there's one thing I really appreciated is that after the exam, you get an assessment report. It breaks down things that shows you where you did really well and where you struggled. And that part was actually really helpful. And I'm actually using it as my study guide for this retesting, because instead of guessing of where I went wrong, I have clarity. I can actually see where I need to focus my time moving forward. And the emotional side of failing, I was disappointed that I failed, but I know a lot of people do fail the first time. So even knowing all of that, failing still hits you emotionally, makes you feel sad. There's disappointment, there's frustration. I don't know if I was super frustrated, but I was definitely disappointed. And there's that internal voice asking why you didn't push a little harder in certain areas. Add in a 3-month waiting period before you can rewrite, and you have a lot of time to sit with it. And honestly, I feel like I've been struggling with getting motivated again, but I have started to study again, and yeah. So the reset
Now that I'm back into studying, getting ready to rewrite, my approach is going to be different. This time I'm not spreading my energy evenly across everything. I'm focusing more intentionally on the areas that need work, because now I know exactly where those gaps are, because I feel very confident about the ethics and the contracts and there's less pressure to rush and more focus on understanding and be confident. And why I wanted to share this is because failing isn't talked about enough. And like, we all fail at stuff. We always hear about the passes and the success stories, the wins, but not the part in the middle where things don't go as planned. Failing the exam didn't make me question whether I belong in this space. It just showed me where I need to keep learning. And every day is a progress, and every day you need to keep learning and growing. And yeah. So no, I didn't pass the exam the first time, but I also didn't walk away discouraged. I walked away clearer. If any of you are watching and and you failed something, and recently, an exam, a goal, a plan, I hope this reminds you that failing isn't the end. Sometimes it's just information you didn't have yet, and it's just the beginning. If you've been through something similar, or you're in the middle of regrouping after a setback, feel free to leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll share updates as I continue studying and get ready to rewrite. And I will hopefully pop back on here with some good news that I passed. All right, guys, it's been fun talking. I'll see you in the next one.